What's up, everybody? I have a. I mean, today is what we at? What is this? April 3rd. Let me see. I have a my first special guest, none other than a guy that's went through a lot of travels with me. This guy really makes me really excited. I'm not gonna. I rather the conversation take place to give the proper context and let this man represent himself. But I don't know whether I'm interviewing him or he's interviewing me. But I want this to be more of an interview instead of a back and forth. But as it always happens with this guy, we'll just make some magic, and that's the vibes that we've always had. So we'll just let the magic happen. So without further ado, I'm not gonna say a name. I'll put the name up in the post edit because I don't know what he calling himself these days. So I'll just let it be what it is. So without further ado, the guy formerly known as whatever he's about to call himself. Thank you so much for joining the reboot. Can I hear you? Testing, testing. You hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Can y'all
I
hear me out there?
They can hear you. I see some audio bars going.
Okay, awesome.
Right. So can you introduce yourself properly?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people know me as Bernard, but you just call me Mr. B. You know, um, at the end of the day, me and my friend here been through a lot, have a lot of journeys, and yeah, I would definitely like it to be a interview, right? That's what you said, an interview.
Well, you my
Now,
first interview. I think part of what not
okay.
to cut you off, but part of what I'm trying to do and the challenges that I have on this particular channel is all right. Little brain fart. One of the challenges that I have on this channel is that I don't want to get stuck into like a lane. Some good advice I got some time ago was just about being yourself. So if any channel I'm gonna be myself, this is the first channel, which was connected to my email when I first got started with Google or Gmail, and now you when YouTube came around, this channel is more reflective of the full me of who I am. So even though a lot of my content right now is favoring agriculture based stuff, homesteading stuff, I have a bigger motive, and I'm just using some of the vibes right now to get me into that motivation of always doing stuff. So I think interviews and you being the first is a quality stop. Interviews, they to me they'll be very telling to tell a broader picture, and for me to not get like stuck up into a particular topic or things that I think about that are just personal to me. So that's why I think it's relevant to have quality people like yourself with quality stories. Whether I have like a very intrinsic relationship with a person or not, I think it'd be good to just chop it up and have decent conversations. So let's start there. First, we got to decide whether you're interviewing me or I'm interviewing you, and we'll take it from there.
Well, you know what? You could start with your interviewing of me. I'm on your channel. I would love to know what kind of questions you have for myself. Also, and to pick my brain, I like to keep the brain motors going. It says a lot about yourself. Where you have to think about things that you probably never thought about. To be honest with you. So yeah, you can interview me, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, so it's funny you say that. About a month ago, since this is so on the fly, I don't have any script. I'm okay working off the script, but I think if I'm interviewing you, I want to talk mostly about like fatherhood and some. I was thinking in particular about growing up. Um, I was not certain of the relationship that you may have had with your father, but I did a lot of reflecting on myself and my father's relationship. And as a father now, what I wanted to ask you was, first, it's a layered question. First, if you could give some insight into how your ability to father multiple children and be in their lives, how does that compare itself to your upbringing with your relationship with your dad? And then the real question, underneath the hood, and I'm not making any assumptions either way. The real question is about the amount of times that you're there to complete your children's sentences, or just say when your kid says something and you just give them the confirmation or acknowledgement, and it's a confidence boost. My question is centered around whether you had that or you felt that you had that from your dad, or whether there was a gap with your mom. And I'll give you my rebuttal after. But that was one of the things that I felt like, because you've I know you've stayed a lot of time at home with your children. How do you actually look back and reflect on this layer that you're given as a dad, and whether you had that or didn't have that, or whether you observe people from, since we come from similar backgrounds, same neighborhood, how do you look at that? Because a lot of what I'm doing is not something that has been learned or taught. It's, what just happened.
That's that's a great question. So I'm going to depict the question apart. And I'm going to answer it as such. First thing is I had to go find my dad. I found my dad at 10. He was in my life up until 2, and then he took a hiatus, and then God rest his soul. But I went ahead and found my dad at the age of 10. So he wasn't always in the household with me. Um, he definitely did try his hardest to make make right what was wrong. And shouts out to my dad. Like I said, God rest his soul. As far as being a father and being in the household with my kids, this is actually one of the things growing up I prayed for, because when I did get in contact with my dad, he felt that money was the key. Everything was money, 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 money. And I started to realize as I got older, it wasn't money what I was looking for, it was time. So I definitely always ask God to make sure I am allowed the time that He seems is best for me to spend with my children and be there to answer their questions and help them in the best way possible. That To answer that, that's a double-edged sword, because yes, it does have its pros, but it also has its cons, because you do want to help your kid along in life, but you don't want to answer everything for them. You want them to have their own train of thought. um with that being said, I definitely enjoy being with my kids. I definitely enjoy um being there to help them with any questions that they have, things that they are confused of. But I do allow them the time to try to figure it out on their own. And if they get stuck, to know that I'm there to help them, because, we're not always promised tomorrow. But being with my kids is definitely one of the blessings that, God have allowed me to do. And at this time, I just want to, send let them know that I will always love my children, and I like the allotted time that God has provided for me. But yeah, if they have any questions, I prefer for them to come to me, but I would like them to figure it out on their own, or at least develop a plan that they can have a plan of attack.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I think I mean, and that's okay. There's an interpretation of what I'm asking and how you see it, because there's certain things that I'm sure are very personal to you. I'm not more in the leading space of whether or not they're going somewhere. Some of these questions, they're empty questions. And when I speak to like the confirmation, I'm saying that being a dad, and whether or not it's this generation or this era, has been one of the hardest undertakings that I've had. And it's because I was not in a position similar to you. I didn't have to go look for my dad, but the years are pretty similar as far as when dad's in the house versus when dad wasn't in the house. So for the most part, my upbringing was without dad, right, in the house, asking a question, giving me validation, making me feel good about a particular thing. So that's really where the challenge is for me, is that a kid, think about when your kid is you have kids that are less than 5, right? So think about when one of your children, obviously one of my children couldn't take the hint. Could you go that way? Thank you. Okay, think about when one of your children is less than 5 years old. They're not asking you inquisitive questions about college. They say the word and they always package a sentence with such and such and such, dad, right? What's your answer?
Right.
What's your answer? Yeah, right? And it's like,
That's always the answer. Such and such and such. They group it together, and you go, of course, no problem.
of course. So
And
you're
then
so
about
you're an of
time,
course
it
guy.
comes back to you.
Right. And my thing
Yeah.
is, imagine your life though. If you look back, when with the comparison that I'm doing, and this, first question or build that we're just more of a build. Um, I didn't realize how many rights were involved in parenting and fatherhood. So it made
Yeah.
me reflect. Damn, I ain't have nobody to say right to. How'd you get the right back? Because that right seems to be the world. Again, we're not talking about something that's so consequential, right? We're not talking about something that is moving mountains. We're just talking about simple confirmation of I'm doing the right thing. And they're not of age to see themselves outside and inside. They only see themselves from like the selfish entity inside your ego. So they ask a lot of things. They look for confirmation. So we're at our age, we're so removed from the confirmation side, but I'm being drawn in as a parent. I'm still getting I have to always, right? Yeah, of course. You got this. And what happens when that isn't there? And I was just, I've done some
Mm.
discovery. So that's really what my first question or build was related to, because I had thought of you like a month ago, and another guy. I had actually thought of it because I was observing him answer a question. He has a 2-year old, and he was answering a question or that right moment, and I was just like, wow, I'm not the only one. It made me not feel as alone, right? Because I'm so used to thinking that it's just me or it's my style, and
Right.
it's like, nah. So you sit right. So I'm like, yo, it ain't just me. This is just what we do, and since we've seen a lot of the same things. I was very curious to know, like, wow, how did we do it? And it's a lot of props to a single mom, or just being in a one parent household, whether you consider that person single or not. But somehow we were able to get past the rights. I'm sure there's a gap there where, whether it's healthy or not, or whether it's complete or not, but we're still kicking and pushing, and that's at least a good thing. You know what, why don't we do this? Since we got deep on the first one, why don't you shoot me back a question? Since we on the fly, and you say you've been doing this for so long, you might as well just shoot me back a question.
All right.
Don't take
So
the oxygen
I'm glad
off
that you.
now. Don't take the oxygen off now, and then I
No.
don't do
Okay.
that.
So you know, one of my questions is, how is it to be a girl's dad? Is it different because you have both? You have boys and girls. What are some of the biggest differences and similarities you know or have seen?
Uh, I would say for most people that's a good question. I think since I'm a pre social media, that wasn't a thing before like Kobe Bryant, right? That wasn't a thing. So when I had my daughter, I wasn't that term I had never heard, being a girl dad. I know that daughters and dads go together and moms and sons because I'm a son that was paired with a mom. But I would say that I I I don't treat my children so different. I focus on just having like healthy children, healthy spirits, and um, make the children like understand what they provide to the world. The only time where there's a cutoff is the safety, level. If my daughter is going to do something that is going to increase, or increase risk of their safety, that's the only time when I'm really like separating the two. But I just think overall it's just a huge challenge, and you got to meet your kids where they are at their particular age. And since we don't have much help, I don't really have the time to drill down into who's the girl, who's the guy, what should they be doing at this
You want to
age.
remain in the dark?
Um,
You want me to turn on the light?
Um, we're gonna cut it for right now, but we're gonna get right back to it.
all right, no
I'll be right
problem.
with you.
Yep,
All right. Love you, bro.
yep, love you too. Okay, well, we'll give Mr. Hold on, let me cut the audio. Okay, so yeah, I just cut the audio. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we meant to get that deep. This was unplanned. My boy Biggs, who I've done mini podcasts with in the past. I've known him pretty much most of my life. Um, he's in the hospital. He gonna get well soon. He got some things to definitely take care of, and some health journey stuff to get back on, which we've discussed. Um, Other than that, I mean, doesn't take away from him being a great soul and very competitive to get a good standing as a father. And there's a lot of insight there. I think he's a cool person to bring on to my channel because I likely have a problem with showing the versatility. And I'm not boasting. I'm more so coming from every hour of my day is like very different, where I may be playing basketball, which I have a little history in there, or coaching basketball, and then I'm gonna be out in the garden, and I may play a little poker, and I'm out here with my kids at cheerleading events. And I think these things are more so normal. I'm just happy to show these things because that's more of the complete me. If I were to just give you chickens and garden, I don't think that is that's not even the tip of the iceberg. So I hope I didn't. I don't know if I'm cutting anything. I guess I'll watch it back one time, but I really am on this journey to try to make this a consistent thing for myself. I've been struggling for years to get the channel up. So I'm gonna use whatever little bit of momentum to get me going, and I hope you enjoy. If you have questions, or if you would like, this is the most critical thing, if you would like for to join the StreamYard, and we could chop it up. And I really want to interview people who along the same lines as what Lev Farmer brings up. A lot of these people that are looking for land, but I really want to interview people who have the ambition to do gardening or homesteading, but haven't really taken too many steps towards it, or have some sort of like blockers. If I could find like one or two people, I think that'd be a really cool thing, and maybe we could just pick a day and have a really strong interview. Other than that, hope you enjoyed. I'm Darnell, just talking as usual. Peace.